Benji!
Votan!
Oh, Lord. That's how this episode's going to be today. All right.
So hypothetically, we all know Space Marines are like more physically adept and like everything's enhanced, right? So I'm just saying, hypothetically, how hard do you think they fucking bust a nut?
We'd have to ask Lucas the
we
trickster
would have
about
to
that,
ask
considering
Lucas.
he's the only one who's busted nuts.
Very true.
Oh, that is... Well,
Yes.
okay, so what... I guess the question would be, is what is the average speed of ejaculate exiting the body?
Checking.
Isn't it like 60 miles? I'm pretty sure it's like 60 miles an hour or something like that. It's something atrocious.
Because the strength of an Astartes compared to a normal
28.
person is 28 miles?
28.
28 miles an hour.
Well, it's
Okay.
ranging between like 25, 28 around that.
Okay,
time.
so we'll just say average like 26.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Let's go right in the middle, right? So what's the average strength of an Astartes compared to a human?
Ooh, okay, let me check. We can actually do some math on this real quick. So, average, because it's all based on muscles, right? So real quick, like, what's the average, like, human male, like, bench press? We're gonna use that as our
Probably
or
like,
staple.
what, 120, 130?
Average for untrained is 135, novice 175, intermediate 215, advanced 290. It goes on.
We'll
gonna
say
take
advanced, because we're talking about advanced, like... We'll talk about putting it... We'll say against, like, a fucking...
Yeah, hey, do you
like
have
a
like
Navy
a pen
SEAL.
to write this down with?
Yeah,
Okay,
somewhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna work with like 28 miles an hour. Okay, we're on regular human speed right now, so 28 miles. We're gonna go with like intermediate, so 215. So like, it's a trained person, right? Benching 215.
Okay.
Now, it's like average Astartes bench press. Somebody saying deadlifts don't exist in 40K. Okay. Are we talking in armor or not in armor?
Not in armor.
Not in
just-
armor.
Okay.
Just, you know.
Well, it's telling me like
Okay, so I'm looking on here. At least class 5, even the weakest Marines can carry 1,350 kilograms, lift 2,700 kilograms, and push 5,400 kilograms.
Jamie, what's kilograms in pounds?
well, that's also lifting compared to bench press. That's different when it comes to the weight.
Well, you're still lifting.
I know, it's like different muscle, right?
Okay,
Well-
so what's
well,
the average human lift?
I'm checking.
And this is for an Astartes, so I can't believe we're putting this much into how
Hey,
strong
science.
is Astartes
Yeah,
gin.
you know
We're gonna
what?
have
We
like
are-
a
we
30-minute cold open on us trying to figure this out.
You know what? People want to know this.
the people need to know how.
It may
Newton's
come
got
in handy.
nothing on us, man.
Let's see.
Look here,
yeah.
Cadia may stand, but Vulcan lifts.
So they can carry 1,350 kilograms. Let's see. That is
The average
that is
with like the novice level, okay, and this is maybe like a little bit lower, saying like for outlift.com is saying like 3 months practice, you're looking like 285 deadlift. Okay.
285.
Let's just roll with that. So
Okay,
for
so
deadlift,
we say a
285.
285 deadlift. What's
an Astartes
the 2,700 pounds was their
2,700 kilograms.
Okay, 2,700 kilograms. What's that in pounds?
You ready for this?
Yep.
Almost 6,000 pounds. It's 5,952.48 pounds.
Easy, baby.
So we'll say 6,000.
We just rounded up
Yeah,
to
we're
6,000.
rounded. So okay, so we have 6.
and we'll say 300 just to round out the. So you're looking at almost. Good God.
6,000.
So they can
You said 300. Round up to 300.
Yeah.
So it's like 20 times. So what was the speed for the
So 28 times 20.
560 miles an hour? So 1 second.
Hey, how
1
many
second.
feet per second is that? I'm trying to
MPH
compare this to one of my
per
rifles.
second. That's what I was going to look. Oh, it put miles to gallon, not that. 821.3 repeating feet per second.
So 821 feet per second.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that a
Yeah.
Space Marine can shoot out a load
Yes.
from my house and it'll hit the actually damn.
So for context, like a 22 caliber subsonic, we're looking at like essentially 1,000 feet per second.
So just under a 22 round.
Yeah. Subsonic.
Yeah,
fair, but
yeah, just under a 22 because my Bergara freaking long range rifle shoots about 26 to 2700 feet per
This
second.
brings new light to Lucas the Trickster. He's not like a
He's a fucking
he's
sniper,
a killer.
bro.
No, he's a killer, dude.
Bro, that is insane. But the even that, so that was them lifting.
Hey, Helga, rank my paint setup.
Hold on. Hold on.
God.
Hold on. That was just lifting. So they can carry almost 3,000 pounds. So they can carry my wife's car. They can carry over a ton.
Easy.
And they
Fuck
can
yeah.
push. Hold on. Here's the fun shit.
Talk
They
about
can
sick
push.
gains.
Huh?
I said talk about sick gains.
Yeah. They can push 11,905 pounds.
But in the game, Catachans are also strength 4. I don't care how many steroids you take, man. It's not the same category.
No, there's no way.
You are now listening to Heresy FM. This ain't your commissar station.
All right, and with that, what's going on, folks? How y'all doing? Welcome to the Serpent's Lodge podcast. I am Corn Berserker, here with the ever notable Groot Scoot and Boogie.
Groot has an arm now, so
Yeah.
now I won't reverb, guys.
He's got a boom arm, so his audio will sound really good throughout the whole episode.
Mechanicum has given Dobby a servo arm. Dobby
And we
is
have
a
the one
free
and only
space
lore
wolf
master,
now.
Step Bro.
Hello. Also, apparently we're all cum scientists now, so that's a new thing.
Congratulations. You know what the old saying is, you learn something new every day. Well, guess
true.
what? The Astartes can jizz up to 100.
It
what
brings
was
a lot of new light to the
892?
Votan's guns, man. They're kind of scary now. Shit.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah. Votan
For
have
those,
cum
who
guns.
for those who didn't know, Votan have cum weapons.
They do have
Yes.
cum guns.
Hashtag cum guns in the
We will-
in the
Yep.
fucking comments.
Yeah. I need that entire comment section full of just like cum guns.
Hashtag
You
cum
need to
guns.
you need to put that picture that he got into the so everyone can see exactly the circles
no,
apart.
Yeah.
Oh snap! So today is a very special day
Yes, it is.
for a certain special.
It's special for me, not special for the rest of you.
You damn right. I fucking hate this episode.
I can chill. This is all you, buddy.
Oh,
This is all
This
you.
is your
no,
show.
you've got a little bit that you
Fine.
need. I'm not
We
well
are-
versed on everything.
We are on the 6th Legion Spurs Wolf.
We
Fish,
finally
man.
made it.
You know, like the one girl in high school who's like the wolf girl. That's this, bro. I'm sorry.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We here at the Serpent's Lodge podcast like to break the stigma on fucking Space Wolves.
You guys might
Groot
not see it.
Is
but
your fucking resident Space Wolf player
he's
of
also
this
wearing
group.
wolf ears right now.
And first of all, fuck you, okay? I have
Woo.
0 goddamn wolf ears on.
Hey, you need to make his orc fucking have the.
I
wolf
was
ears.
thinking about that. Yeah.
Whatever. Look, I will tell you right now, Groot condones the bullying of furries.
Listen. Your avatar for this episode is going to be the Space Marine or
I
the
was
Space
putting
Wolf
like a
helmet.
fursuit on your entire thing, dude.
I hate you.
I will have Brock do it. I'll do it.
It's gonna be the
God, I
Space
wish I
Wolf
was
helmet
good
with
at
the wolf
editing.
ears.
Can we get a comic as Scrooge be like, I'm one of the good ones. Please don't bully me. This is great. I love this episode.
I wish I was.
This is
I wish I
sorry,
could edit. Fuck you, Step Bro. So before we go on, I would like to give a little shout out to our first ever Discord joiner. Fucking peace was never an option. First member on the Discord there. So
Yeah, with the first.
for all of our listeners out there, if you're on Discord, get on the Discord and give this man some company.
Yeah, he's kind of lonely in
Yeah,
there, and like we
yeah.
can only spend so much time on Discord. So
Yeah.
So speaking of big dick energy, we're on the Space Wolves today,
Oh,
boys
baby.
and girls. So the
Ugh.
the infamous
the
Sixth
snaps
Legion,
already started.
the hate from fucking Corn right now is fucking
Oh my
ecstatic. I know
God.
how much you hate them.
I don't know if I hate them or if I just hate the fan base, like, to be honest, and not like guys like you, but the guys you see at like any freaking game store,
It's not
they're
you,
trying
it's
to
me. Don't.
It's
they're,
not you, it's
they're-
me.
yeah, they're trying to act like they're fucking space Vikings and being like rude and obnoxious and just
TikTok Vikings.
like yeah.
Like TikTok
those
Vikings are my
guys.
favorite.
And I do also kind of hate that fucking everything is Space Wolves, but that's neither here nor there, honestly. That's just.
I mean, in all honesty, it was like early GW's fault because they made it like before Ultramarines were like the poster boys. For whatever reason, the Space Wolves were the poster boys.
Well, it's funny because Ultramarines have always been the poster boys for GW, but for some reason there is more Space Wolf like content out there than even
People love the
Ultramarine.
Space Wolves, man.
No, they're they're an easy second. If you have a conflict, Ultramarine is going to be there. But then if you're like, well, who are we going to toss in? Making it like a second founding onwards chapter is too hard to do. Let's just toss in the Space Wolves. People love wolves.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
if it doesn't have anything to do with the Ultramarines, 9 times out of 10 they're going to throw the Space Wolves into it because they know it's going to be popular and they know it's going to make them a lot of money.
Yeah,
Fair enough, but
We're everywhere.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of underrepresentation of other legions.
yeah, like Imperial Fist. Just saying.
Get the fuck off Terra, and you'd have more representation.
This is
Hashtag
Fortify.
big
Shut the fuck up.
You can't be represented if you stay at home.
Well, whenever the enemy gets to us, we'll talk then.
You know what else we need for representation? We need female Space Marines.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh my god!
Shut the fuck up,
Let's
Templars
not
Institute.
start
Holy
that
shit.
debate,
There's no debate to be
had.
had. Just no.
dude. Every other post on the Imperial Man Facebook group is
Female Space
the
Marines.
female Space Marine thing again. It's just like, well,
That's
you
the
guys
first
just shut
problem.
up.
You're on Reddit. That's like the first. You know, I had to get out of. I know we need to like actually get on the topic, but also like Grimdank. I used to go on Grimdank a lot for they have some good 40k memes, everything else.
Right.
You remember the entire meme where it's like the girls' locker room, boys' locker room, and it was like the joke. The girls' locker room, like gym was so fun, and the boys' locker room was like fucking holy chance, we must crusade, that type of shit.
Yep.
That got banned on Grimdank subreddit because it was misogynistic. Just to show you like the type of shit that's.
It's like
Sounds about
if
right.
you're offended by that kind of stuff, stay the fuck off of it.
It's a meme. People
Stop-
need to
yeah.
just.
It's almost like people forgot what the internet was for.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, on to the Lehman Russ guys.
Onto the our preferred name is the Vilca
Oh god, it's got
Fenrica.
neo
You're
pronouns
fucking
now.
space
Shit.
wolves. Get over it.
You have to use my pronouns. My pronouns are Vilca Fenrica. So, Vilca Fenrica, or the Fenrisian, which is the Fenrisian word for the Wolves of Fenris, also known as the Emperor's Executioners, and that's for a very good fucking reason.
It speaks a lot to their role and also their past deeds and what they did.
Because
Which is
they're part of the
redacted,
reason
yeah.
why one of those redacted, well, it's been alluded that they're one of the reasons that the redacted, one of the redacted legions is completely gone because they wiped them out and now they no longer exist.
Yep.
But so these guys are led by, of course, none other than Lehman Russ. You guys should know this from the past, I don't know,
Every episode.
every episode that I've talked about. The Great Wolf King, Daddy Russ, our Lord and Savior Lehman Russ. Fucking, I don't know, I can think of probably more names. The Great Russ Poobah. Get in the wolf, Shinji.
No.
So, unlike a lot of guys that we've talked about, these guys are these guys are very different from a lot of Space Marine chapters. They don't like taking orders unless they come directly from like the Emperor. Very anti-authoritarian, very fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
They are like the most individualistic legion out of all of them, I would say.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very much so. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's it for the Space Wolves, guys. Appreciate it.
I
Catch you
had
next
this
time.
episode all
Imperial Fist.
I had this I had this episode all planned out, and now that I'm ready to
You've
talk
already
about
used your allotted hour in the past like 5 episodes.
my autism has completely
All
locked
right, the
my
rest of
fucking
this
brain
episode
up.
is going to be clips from past episodes where Groot was talking about the damn Space Wolves.
All my love for Lehman Russ. I've spread it over 12 episodes, and now I have no more love to give.
Never meet your heroes.
Just kidding. So we'll start out, I guess, talking about Russ and his landing on Fenris, kind of like how we've touched on all the Primarchs and told a little bit of their story. So he lands on Fenris, like all the other Primarchs. They land on their respective planets. Fenris is a completely cold, well, for the most part, cold death world. Has a very, very, very small, like, spring and summer cycle, and most of the planetary year is it's an icy, frosty death world. So Russ lands, and unlike a lot of people where, you know, he's found by, you know, either a great king or, you know, like, he had almost a kind of a Lionel Johnson type thing.
He was gay?
Oh,
No,
retarded?
no, he's not gay. He's not a gay poet.
oh, that was a huge rivalry
We don't
between
have
them
to-
two. So,
oh God,
yeah.
they fucking hate each other. But when Leman Russ lands, he's met face to face with a Thunderwolf of Fenris, and instead of killing him, the mother wolf notices that there's something about him, something different, something odd, and she ends up actually fucking Mowgliing him and fucking takes him in. And Leman Russ was fucking raised by wolves.
Classy.
Who would have guessed?
I'm not entirely familiar with the full story. Haven't gotten there. I believe
It's very generic, like bringing up story for a Primarch. Where like, hey, he was later found by a tribe, and then he came in, and then he was all badass, and the tribe followed him, and then everybody else tried to be like, hey, let's go attack him because he's really powerful, yada yada, and then they all get squashed, and then Fenris is united. Then Emperor comes along, and the rest is history. So
well.
yeah.
Funny story you say that because he also had a he had an interesting run in with the Emperor.
They go to FurCon.
No, he didn't
okay.
go to FurCon. So unlike everything else where the Emperor shows up and he's like, I'm the Emperor, you know, bask in my glory, you are my son. This time the Emperor takes a different approach. He doesn't show up as the Emperor. He lands on Fenris and he shows up to Leman Russ's doorstep as a completely hooded, almost like a beggar, hooded stranger. And when he first goes up to Leman Russ, he's talking to him, and he challenges Leman Russ to a drinking contest. And he's sitting there, and by the time they're drinking and they're going at it, and by the time the Emperor had finished like 6 barrels of Fenrisian wine, Leman Russ had drank all the wine in the whole mead hall and the mead hall down the hall. He had pretty much drank up the whole supply of wine. Emperor was like, okay, that's kind of a dick move, but whatever. He says, all right, so you beat me at that. He was like, all right, we'll do, how about an eating contest? We'll do an eating contest. And Leman Russ goes, you know what? Sure, friend, let's have an eating contest. So they start eating, and they're going at it, and fucking the Emperor has a pile of plates, and he looks over, and Leman Russ is eating all the food up out in the fucking meat hall. He's eating everything for his miles around, and
I'm starting to understand why like Johnson didn't like him.
I mean,
well, that's
it's either be good or if you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
There, no, okay.
no. The hatred between them two started. Oh, there are a lot of different.
I thought it was just
accounts,
because
but
he ate Lionel Johnson's lunch.
No,
like,
there's two
you know.
specific accounts and that are widely accepted of how even the Space Wolves came to be, but we'll get to that whenever you're done with fucking Russ being recruited.
Oh yeah, so the Emperor sees this, and the Emperor starts getting pissed off a little bit. And then he ends up calling out Russ. He calls him a braggart, calls him arrogant. Says that he's a drunk. He's useless and all that. He says, "I challenge you to a fight." Leman Russ says, "Okay, let's do it." The Emperor turns around and fucking just beats one punches him, knocks him the fuck down. Leman Russ falls down, looks at him, immediately starts laughing. Says, "You're my dad." It was the Emperor says, "I'm the Emperor. I'm your fucking father. Like, you're not gonna fucking talk to me like that. Who the fuck do you think you are, child?" And fucking Leman Russ just laughs at him and goes, "I knew you were my dad the whole time. I was just playing with you." "Welcome, Dad. Time to take me home."
What gave the hint? The fact that you downed like 6 barrels of wine that would have killed a normal person. That's how. You know?
That was just.
You should have died of alcohol poisoning like 10 hours ago.
That was the appetizer.
But I think it's beautiful, and that really shows it really shows a lot into like Leman Russ's personality and everything.
That he's
like,
a fucking dick for no reason, just because.
Well, I mean, it's not even necessarily like the dick. Like, a lot of people see Space Wolves as this barbaric, ready to fight at any time, which I mean they are, but to me, the Space Wolves are a lot more fun natured than, say, the Ultramarines, where the Ultramarines are all, no, tally ho, got to go, fucking theoretical, practical,
I
have
must
to do
scrub the
this, have to
laboratory.
do that.
Poke lemon.
Like they're having like I don't know, they have like autism conversation jokes and stuff. Meanwhile,
But it's only with each other. They don't really. I mean, they kind of mess like that with other legions, at least.
Well, they're very, they're very like
individuals.
cliquish for the most part. Is
Yeah.
what I've noticed across the books. You know,
Yeah.
like, if you're in, you are in. If you're out, fuck you.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what legion you're from. If you can best them in a duel, or take one of their freaking
it's basically if
take
you
one
can,
of their
if you
pranks
can
that
hang
really
with
isn't a prank though. It's kind of a dick thing to
Hey,
do.
wouldn't it be funny if we stuck like a crack grenade to his chest and turned it on?
Yeah. It's like, oh, if you survive and laugh about it, you're cool. But
that would be some shit they would do, though.
yeah,
but I mean, think about it. It's no more different than us. Like how super clicky we are and everything. And we're also very, if you can hang with us, great, and fucking you're
If
a
you
part of the
can't,
crew.
fuck
But
off.
if you can't hang out with
in the
us,
Space Wolf way, I think it'd be kind of like what Stebro was hitting at was a little step up from that. It's like, oh, we're all clicky, haha. I pull out my gun and shoot you in the chest or some shit. And if you live, it's like, oh, no, that was funny, dude. Good, nice shot.
Well, I think the best way of putting it is not necessarily going to be a case of like I guess you could say bullying, obviously, like arguably, but it's more like hazing, but it's seeing like what you can react to it. Okay, so hypothetically, you bring out the gun and you shoot them. Okay, or like you usually not that, but like you go around and you like sucker punch them or
I was
something.
about to say,
crazy shit.
because they also have something. They also have this very tight knit to where like you don't do anything that's going to put your battle brother in direct harm.
Oh, fair. Yeah. And they have a really, like, from what I've noticed from them, they have a really high honor factor.
Yeah, so
More
it's
so
not
than any other
necessarily
reason.
like sticking a crack grenade to your chest. It's almost like sticking like a fucking flashbang to your chest, or something that's gonna like a smoke grenade or
They
something that's
probably
just
wouldn't
gonna
do the
pop
crack
and
grenade
fucking.
unless they like knew for certain they knew for certain that you would be able to live through
Yeah,
it.
like they knew that this is a dud crack grenade that's just gonna blow your hair back and fucking leave you covered in soot, but we're all gonna get a good laugh out of it.
Exactly. But like they go around, they punch you and everything else, or they do something that's aggressive, anything else, and they see how you react, right? So like if they went up to another legionary from another legion, did that, and the legionary obviously got angry, had a good tussle, everything else, but could accept it as, I obviously knew you weren't trying to kill me, but that was also, you look past the actual offense of, oh, there's a grenade on your chest, or I sucker punched you, and you still stick up for yourself, you fight back, but then you understand, hey, they're just trying to have fun. I'm having fun.
Perfect example of that is in Battle of the Abyss, when what the hell's the Space Wolf's name in there? But it was the two main characters in it. They're both Ultramarines or whatever.
Big surprise.
Yeah. And they go into the dining hall or whatever, like on the ship. They go to the cafeteria on the ship, and one of the Space Wolf dudes is there just beating the crap out of everybody or whatever. And the main character, he's like, they're like, what are we gonna do about him? We're gonna lock him up, this and that. He's like, no, I got this. He goes over, he just starts beating the shit out of the Space Wolves. They get into a big brawl, and then they fucking stop, and the Space Wolf is like, oh man, it's good seeing you again. This is awesome. He's like, yeah, how you doing? All right, cool. And it's like,
It's just,
he looks at the other guy. He's like, this
that's
is
all
what they
care about
respond
is
to.
having a good time.
Yeah, this is what they respond to. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, very much going back to the idea, like, they are wolves, right? But they respect the violence, but they understand that obviously, when dogs fight, they're going to nip and yap, and they're going to bite each other, and they're going to tussle. But at the end of the day, they come out of that and also know who's the alpha.
They
who's
understand
Right.
it. They understand that
Play
it makes they do whatever they can to make the pack stronger.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And little playing and stuff like that almost makes the pack that much tighter or that much stronger, because let's say you're walking up and fucking you have a newer guy or whatever that you're hazing, and you just walk up and sucker punch him in the back of the head, and he never sees it. Well, one, it's it's all in lighthearted fun, but it's also teaching him as a younger guy, watch your fucking back.
Yeah.
Don't get blindsided. If you pay attention more, you're not going to get smacked in the back of the head, and he's going to look at that.
Yeah, and I guess in a way they also get to learn each other's weaknesses and learn how to like cover them.
Yeah.
But if you notice, like, another thing that keeps them so tightly knit, and you see this a lot, you hear this a lot in Prospero Burns in the Horus Heresy. You hear a lot of Space Wolves say, "I recognize my error, and I will work to correct it."
Yeah.
You hear that throughout the Horus Heresy, the Horus Heresy. Whenever you're dealing with Space Wolves, anytime because they get called out, they're almost as bad as Dorn and the fucking Imperial Fist whenever it comes to getting called out on fucking errors.
Not as bad as Perturabo and the Iron Warriors. But,
Yeah, you're not gonna get bitch smacked with a fucking. You're not gonna get bitch smacked with a power hammer, but they will.
You
decimated.
can learn from your lesson.
And 90% of the time they don't have to, because another cool thing with them is they've developed almost like how wolves have a sense where low growls and stuff like that. You can let off you can kind of project feelings or whatever.
Yeah.
If a space wolf is doing something that he ought not do, someone of higher order could literally just fucking let out a low growl to let him know he's fucking up, and he'll literally look up and say, I recognize my error and I will work to correct it. And that's the thing, is they take that to heart and they will do whatever they can to correct that error.
They're individualistic, but they're also individualistic while still being very subservient to the whole, but not because they're required to, but because they know that's the best way to basically get to know each other, to operate as a team, whether in squad based or as the whole route, right? The chapter, and everything else. So, hey, I think the way I want to do this, is this the correct way? But then if I'm doing it and a lot of other people are saying, don't fucking do it. If I'm in another legion, I might say, well, you guys are wrong. I'm right. I'm special. I know what the fuck I'm doing. The Space Wolf has the individuality and tenacity to go through with what he thinks right. But he's wise enough to understand, hey, if I got 90 other guys telling me this is a bad idea, perhaps this is a bad idea. Right?
And all of it culminates into making them the greatest warrior possible. Also, all to go towards one goal in every Space Wolf's life, and that is to have your story and your exemplaries and your battle deeds told in deeds worthy of a saga. That's what you want to be, the best fighter, the best soldier, the best warrior you can be, so that you're remembered in the stories. Because Space Wolves also, they don't believe in writing history down. They don't believe in having their stories written, because, as they say, anybody can and as we've seen in history today, anybody can write something down and say this is a piece of history. But the reason they stay so, close knit and everything like that is because the stories are being told and passed down from a space wolf to another space wolf to another space wolf to another space wolf. Yeah. So that nothing is gonna change that's gonna darken your story. If anything, as it gets passed down, fucking, you could have this incursion where you kill 10 bloodletters or whatever. You kill 10 fucking corn demons or whatever. Fucking
really? You gotta go there.
I'm sorry.
You gotta go there.
It was just the first thing that I could come up against.
Shots fired.
It's just the first thing that I could think of. What would you fight martially against? What would be the martial thing to fight against?
Demons for the ejaculation. Continue.
Just shooting loads of demons.
So, let's say you kill 10 and, 5,000 years pass. All of a sudden, that story has turned from 10 to, now you've killed 100 bloodletters single-handedly on a fucking hill on a mountain of bloodletter.
I disagree with how they tell stories, because they can be embellished. At least if it's written down, there's a written accord, like, no, this is actually what happened. It's not going to be embellished. It's not going to be exaggerated in any way, shape, or form. Like, everything, all their stories, because in Prospero Burns, what was the dude, the psyker dude that was in Thousand Sons?
Magnus.
No.
Armin.
No, the Space Wolf dude. Weird mate. Othir Weird mate.
Yeah, Othir Weird mate.
Yeah, he tells the guy that they just saved from the freaking he wasn't an iterator. He was one of the administratum's little clergy.
Yeah, he was the remembrancer.
Yeah. He told him straight up. He's like, why do you? Oh, that's what it was. He was like, it's cold in here. So one of the headspace dudes, I forget, told one of the other guys, like, hey, give him your pelt. And the guy's like, no, I don't want to give him my pelt. It's my pelt. This is that. Othir Weirdmake's like, here, I'll give him my pelt. And he gave him the pelt. And the guy asked him, like, why'd you give me your pelt? He's like, so that way when you tell this story, you make me look good and you make him look like crap. And it's like, okay, so now you're not really doing it out of the kindness of your heart to be altruistic. You're doing it
to be remembered.
You're doing it to be a selfish ass. It's like, yeah, sure. It makes me look better and it makes him look like crap. And it's like, well, if that's going to be the case, then what's to stop you from telling the Remembrancer a story of a battle that you had where somebody else
But think about if you're the other Space Wolf and now you have a story that's saying, "Oh, you're a piece of shit that fucking, you know, you don't help out people that's in need."
I understand.
It goes back to
it's just very self-serving
seeing your
and it's
error
one of
and
those-
working on
It goes
correcting
back
it.
to sort of like group accountability, and on top of that, also the point of the message as compared to like the actual text of the message, right? So if you go around and the Space Wolf fought like 10 blood letters and then won against it, and it's recorded down to that 10, adds like a couple extra zeros by the end of it, everything else, yeah, it gets embellished, but that's sort of like a mention to like how great that was. And yeah, that is stroking like their own cock a little bit, but at the end of the day, the point of the message of, hey, so-and-so fought blood letters and ended up winning and went back, that's still recorded. And on top of that, if Oath Weirdmake is just, hey, buddy, by the way, let me tell you how great I am, let me tell everybody else is, that's true. And the, what's the title for the, that guy? Because he has a specific
He's
title.
a rune priest.
Not the rune priest, the Remembrancer guy. He turned into somebody
He
else.
became a Scald.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Scald.
he's a skull.
Yeah, the Space Wolves Remembrancers during 30K. But that being said, he can go say something. But if all the other Space Wolves sort of learn about that, you then also have 9 other Space Wolves who might come up and tie that into a story about how, hey, Othar Weirdmake's kind of like a fucking, you know, bitch ass motherfucker.
I mean, he is regardless, but you know,
He is 100%. But that being said, so
Win
history
for
is
Armin.
written by basically the unanimous consensus of the pack, right? Or the Space
I
Wolves.
guess
But
that
there-
makes sense
but
because
the
you
thing
have
is-
other people who are telling the story and be like, actually,
And the thing
that
is
guy
with
didn't do
the
that.
Scalds is there is a level of accountability held to the Scalds because they have to practice that story.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they have
yeah.
to stand in front of a mead hall full of Space Wolves that are all sitting there that have all been a part of that story.
Didn't
been
that skull have to tell like 400 tales or some crazy
Yeah,
crap
that's
like
crazy.
that? That's insane to have to remember 400 different stories, and they're not like a 5-minute 30-second thing. It's like,
He's spending like an hour per. He's spending
At
like
least.
almost an hour per tale telling
Went on
them.
for
at
several
least.
days. From
Yeah, I want to
to
say by the end of telling all the tales, he was at the point of fucking exhaustion.
yeah, like he had like almost no voice at that point.
Now, here's the fun part about this is we can obviously look at that, and a lot of skepticism can be given to like orally told history.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of ancient cultures did. Like specifically, just tying back to like personal, like theological knowledge I know, is the ancient Israelites, that's how they passed down history for the longest time. They would go around and memorize all these lists, like the entire Old Testament plus the other like minor Jewish books,
I
everything
don't know
else.
what happened. Stepbro started drinking, and all of a sudden he starts talking about foreign relations with Israel.
Listen, whatever you do not give Mel Brooks a 12-pack. Whatever you do, I got kicked out of 2 bars. But
Don't
that's
give Mel
entirely
Brooks a
doable.
12-pack, and don't give fucking Alec Baldwin a fucking
No,
9
no,
mil.
no, it's not Mel Brooks. It ain't Mel Brooks. You're talking about the
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah, that was,
Wow,
yeah,
we
that
were
was
like,
Mel.
Mel-
Mel. Different
Mel-
Mel.
Mel Gibson is a Jew, or Mel Brooks is a Jew.
Yes, but Mel Brooks is the one
He's
who
one of the
gave
good
us all the
ones.
great comedy movies like Blazing Saddles and freaking Robin
What
Hood
if
Men
that's
in
the
Tights.
final battle? Is Mel Brooks
who
versus?
did like Braveheart and Patriot and
That's Mel Gibson.
yeah, Mel Gibson. That's
What
one
if
of
that's the final battle? What if
Mel Gibson?
the final battle is Mel Brooks versus Mel Gibson?
Oh shit! Not all the Mels.
Oh God.
This will go down in history with the Scalds.
There
It's
can
a-
be only one.
It's
and
a
then his nut
melee.
was faster than the other one's nut.
So there's not a whole lot known about the Space Wolves before Lehman Russ is found. They were very, very shrouded in mystery. In fact, well, I mean, all the Space Marines were shrouded in mystery. Nobody really knew about them until they showed up.
Yeah.
But they were the Space Wolves specifically were one of 3 legions that were shrouded in kept under a lot more tightly closed doors than the others. Along with the Salamanders and the Alpha Legion, which, I mean,
Yeet.
the Alpha Legion makes sense because, Alpha Legion's super
Then I
secretive
can
and
see
everything.
wolves.
And I could kind of see wolves being the executioners. The only thing I could see with... Oh, I want to see...
Do you think
I
that
had
the
the
Emperor
thing-
kept the salamanders kind of a secret just because he knew Vulcan was a perpetual?
That's the only thing that
Honestly,
I could
maybe.
think of.
That's same here because I'm like there's no other Primarch that's a perpetual.
There,
My only guess, okay, because let's
you
go
guys
this
keep
way.
talking about that. I'm going to look up this
sounds
dope ass
good.
quote
My
that
only
Lehman
guess,
Russ
because we
gave.
have the wolves, right, and they were obviously separated because they're the executioners. Okay,
Right.
Now, granted, that what's interesting about all those threes had very divergent cultures for the most part. Okay, so wolves were very much like us versus you, our in group, your out group, everything else. Alpha Legion was very much the same way because it was a case of, hey, we're very cliquish because we have our secrets and we're not going to tell them to anybody.
Yeah, they were specifically told they were going to be the Emperor's sword in the dark.
Yeah, so we got the Emperor's basically CIA, and we have the Emperor's executioners, and they, because of their own purpose, they developed a very unique culture. Salamanders, sort of the same way, right? Because they're the human part of the Astartes, right? They inherited the Emperor's love for humanity, everything else. So honestly, what if they protected just to sort of shelter them? Because imagine like an entire Astartes Legion going out, and they aren't fully formed yet. It's like sending your kid to like an online chat forum. They're going to get bullied, right? I mean, quite frankly, that's the only thing I could think of. Yeah.
Put your kid in a fucking COD lobby.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I found it.
Okay.
So this is Leman Russ speaking to the warriors, to his warriors upon taking the reins of leadership of the 6th Legion.
Wolf, 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 growl, wolf, bark, bark, wolf,
He
growl.
says, as the strands of iron are twisted and hammered together in the forging of a killing blade, so shall we be. I and my oath sworn have been until now wolves of Fenris, and you, cousins of my blood, the wolves of Terra. Together we shall become the wolves that stalk the stars, and the beasts that crawl and feed in the darkness of the void shall come to fear us and know themselves hunted.
They translated all that from K9? Man.
I think you fucked that up, man.
That's pretty
you should
cool,
have
though, I'm not gonna
Why
lie.
didn't you use the Space Wolf voice for that?
Oh, I know.
Re-record it. Yeah,
With
Oh,
the-
God damn it.
I'm fucking-
With the forging of the urns and
Yes.
the twisting of the wood.
We shall go to IKEA.
As the sterns of iron are twisted and hammered together.
Swedish shit.
Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout.
No, that is a pretty.
I just think that's cold as fuck.
That's
Like,
an awesome freaking quote. Like, no gonna lie, because not a lot of legions have their own thing like that. Iron Warriors, we did have the Unbreakable Litany. Space Wolves have the whatever that they want to
autistic
call it.
howling.
Yeah, whatever they call that.
I don't know
there.
what that was. I think that was just pretty much like,
It's just a speech.
we're the wolves of... Yeah, that was just a speech. That was literally just him being like, we're the wolves of Fenris, you're the wolves of Terra. Together, we're the wolves that are gonna fuck shit up across
Formed
this
to do
galaxy.
The ultimate Megazord.
The ultimate wolf.
All right.
So, not a lot really. I mean, the Space Wolves did their thing during the Great Crusade, and that's about the best way you can describe it.
So can we get to how they have a fucking like damn near a blood rivalry with the Dark Angels?
Oh, please.
Oh,
please.
oh God. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to like speed through Horus Heresy like super quick, and then we can get onto that because we have so much to talk about.
Well,
Oh,
one of
God,
these
yes.
things is claimed to happen during the heresy.
Well, I know, but I was also gonna start with like the Angron, Night of the Wolf, and then go on.
Yeah.
Dark
So,
Angels.
so Night of the
Yeah.
Wolf. So Night of the Wolf was Night of the Wolf was Great Crusade era.
Yeah, that was
So
that was pre-heresy. Yeah.
So we'll
pre-heresy.
kind of touch on this a lot more. So basically, you have Angron, who is the leader, who is the head of the 12th
Boo.
Angron, best Gron, son.
12th Legion.
Yeah,
Head of the 12th Legion, the World Eaters.
Yes.
And he has this big idea because he's a deranged fucking lunatic that has these
damn right he
murder
is.
nails in his fucking brain. He decides, hey, you know what? All of my sons need to have these murder nails in their brain.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
sounds fun.
because there is no truer purity in combat than to experience that.
Uh-huh.
You know what
all
fun
the
little-
rage
Yeah.
and
How'd that
anger.
work out for him?
Worked out pretty damn well.
Obviously, it didn't. Well, I mean,
he
it
lifted
didn't-
he bench pressed a Warhound Titan's foot.
Yeah,
I
but
think it worked out pretty well
yeah,
for
but
him.
he got
Be a
bitch-
normal person like take Trent or something. Shit.
so
he drank an
Tiny
entire.
little tangent, like 2-second tangent. One of the funny things that I've always thought about is, like Space Wolves are actually Valka from Rika, Imperial Fists are Imperial Fists, World Eaters are not World Eaters.
No,
The actual Legion name is not World Eaters. It is Eaters of Worlds.
Yeah.
Which is funny. It just literally gets shortened in all documents to World Eaters.
well, yeah, because
no
they
joke.
probably it probably fucking frustrates them to say that.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
well, they
we're
were,
the World Eaters.
well, they were originally known as the Warhounds,
Yeah, I know.
and I don't know. They probably changed it because like, oh, Space Wolves? Are you fucking serious? Fine, we're gonna eat worlds now.
We'll
Fuck
get
you.
more into that and that thing. But yeah, that's very.
There's actually a very, very, very like they talk about that where they talk about fucking dogs can be chained but wolves can't. And
Makes sense.
that was like a big thing. That was like a thing that a space wolf said to a fucking warhound. He was like, "You want to know the difference between us?" He was like, "Dogs can be trained and told to heel." He was like, "A wolf can't." But so during the Night of the Wolf, they're finding out about this whole fucking butcher's nails thing with the world eaters, and as you do with anything that needs to be done quickly and efficiently and as violently as possible, you send the space wolves after the world eaters. So they send them, and they're in this.
Nothing will go wrong.
They end up in this big, long, drag out fucking battle between the space wolves and the world eaters. Big, huge conflict, which the reason they send the space wolves for this is because as of right now, the space wolves are the only legion that has Astartes to Astartes conflict experience. Obviously with the 12th Legion. That, and they've pretty much been sent as almost kind of a, Dad said to fucking stop doing this. Don't make me beat the shit out of you.
And Angron.
All right, I'm going.
Well, Angron's like, that's essentially what happened. He told him to fucking stop. Angron's like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm not
fuck
doing
you,
this.
I
He's
do
like,
what I
Dad said
want.
stop. He's like, I don't think Dad actually said that. In fact, Dad's probably a fucking slave driver, and I'm gonna take his throne. And
and Lehman Russ was like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot. You shouldn't have said that." So they start fighting, and it gets to the point where Angron did best Lehman Russ, and Lehman Russ admits it fully. But Lehman Russ also tells him, "Look," and Angron looks up, and he's surrounded by an entire pack of Wolfguard. Has bolters trained on him from every angle. He cannot get. There's no way.
It wasn't even just that. It was like the entire Space Wolves army was pretty much around him. Because during that,
Well, no. What it was they were fighting off in the end, and it was just them two fighting, and then he ended up surrounded by like a whole squad. I want to say it was like 10. It was like 10 men, but he was surrounded, and he had guns.
It was
trained
enough
on
to where it would have taken him down. I think it was more than 10, but it was enough to where.
Either way, he was surrounded, and he had guns trained on him from every angle, and Angron could not get it through his head that he had lost.
yeah, he thought that
He had won.
They inflicted more damage, like number of casualties to the space wolves than they took.
Well,
He
it
was like,
wasn't
"We
even
won."
because they were evenly matched. It was because it was literally the fact that he had bested Russ, because he had beat Russ and put Russ on the ground. He had won the entire. He believed that the war was his, and Russ said, "No, look, you can kill me." He was like, "That's fine, kill me." He was like, "But you're gonna be dead. You're gonna die too. You may kill me, but you're gonna die as well." And that was a big thing that Angron could never get out of his fucking head, and it became known as the Night of the Wolf.
Awoo.
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 Woo.
Well, yeah. But that was like the big, pre-Parisy, Astartes conflict. Obviously, this is excluding, 2nd, 11th Legion, because we don't know jack fucking shit for the most part. But that was, the big shit.
Yeah,
And
the
that-
only thing we know as far as the 2nd Legion is, like I said, where it's alluded that Russ was the one that dealt with him.
Yeah, it's been alluded. Russ killed one of them, and something happened to the other one. Could have been same fate, could have been something different. Yeah.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
So going into the Horus Heresy, we have already talked a little bit in the Dark Angels episode about Russ and his problem with Lionel Johnson. His little petty squabble that he had, fucking don't take our
We're gonna
kills.
get more into that later, because that's transcended 10,000 years of just pure hatred. I love it.
Yeah, but one of those, so there's many accounts, but there's two that are widely accepted by pretty much both legions and shit. The first one, the Space Wolves claim that this is how it actually happened between Lionel and Russ. So they were waging war in the Dulan campaign together, right?
Mhm.
And it says that Lionel fucking advanced his legion. He didn't coordinate with the Space Wolves, right? And though they won the battle and stuff, it left the Space Wolves flank unprotected, and it caused them to lose a bunch of freaking guys, right? So it caused them to suffer a lot of casualties because of the enemy's counterattack. After that whole thing ended, Russ went to Lion and challenged him to a duel. And apparently they fought until they both collapsed from exhaustion.
And then Russ
they
is that
swore
the one where
vengeance
Russ
upon
just
each other.
started busting out fucking laughing?
Yeah.
And then fucking Lion knocks him out fucking
No.
cold.
That's the second one.
Oh, was that the second one?
Yeah, this one is the one that Space Wolves actually believe happened. That they battled until the exhaustion, and they swore vengeance upon each other. But after over the years, they developed a mutual respect for each other. But due to their pride, they both felt honor bound to fulfill their vows of vengeance.
Right.
The second one was that the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves were on a particular planet, and the leader of that planet insulted Russ. So Russ made it his vow to kill the shit out of that dude.
Basically oath a moment.
He oath of moment that fucking dude, right?
I'm gonna kill you.
So they assaulted the tower, right? And Lehman marches up to the throne room up top, and he sees Lion beheading the leader. Russ got pissed off because he's like, no, that was my kill. That was my honor. So that's when he ran up and started just he sucker punched Lion right in the freaking jaw, right? And them two fought, and it said that the battle lasted for like a week or more until finally Russ just saw how immature their fighting was and started laughing. Lionel thought Russ was mocking him, so Lionel sucker punched the shit out of Russ, knocked him unconscious, and then escaped the planet with the Legion. And the Space Wolves considered that as Lionel being a fucking coward.
There's a fine line between friendly ribbing and grievous disrespect.
Damn
and
right.
You just crossed it. Yes,
Yeah.
and that one actually stemmed the big blood feud between Space Wolves and Dark Angels. Now, anytime that a Space Wolf and a Dark Angel squad meets, or even singles, they what they do is they pick one champion, or if I believe if it's individuals, they are the champion.
Yeah.
And what they do is the Space Wolf gets one blow on the Dark Angel, and the Dark Angel gets one blow on the Space Wolf, and it's to literally see who can knock the fucking other one out.
That must make like the Death Watch really fucking terrible. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Because Death Watch pulls from everybody and from all these chapters, everything else. So imagine like you pull from the Space Wolves, and Space Wolves until recently essentially only had like their own chapter, right? Like no successors for the most part. And then the Dark Angels was like one of the most numerous ones. So you had like one Space Wolf in the fucking Death Watch company, and then all these like different like Dark Angel chapters would come up, and he's like, "Oh no, not again!"
Oh,
and
no.
just fucking.
I'm going to sucker punch all of you.
Yeah, pretty much.
But so after that, the most really the most notable thing that the fucking Space Wolves are known for during the Horus Heresy, of course, is the burning of Prospero.
Deserved.
Well, burning of Prospero, I'd say
was.
/ the Edict of Nicaea. We can, I guess, talk about both slightly because the Space Wolves and Russ were there, and they were pretty much the causes of it.
Yeah, so I was gonna say during the Council of Nicaea, you had a few different factions, but for the most part, you had like Russ and Mortarion, like the two big guys who were saying,
yeah, they were the
no
two big
psychers.
advocators.
Yeah, they were the big saying no psychers, everything else. The only time you ever see those two on the same side of anything. But at that point, they went around and they basically convinced, or I should say Magnus convinced, due to his like shit poor argument, that the Emperor, hey, perhaps psychers should not be allowed. And therefore the Council of the Edict of Nicaea went down, no psychers allowed, but Space Wolves is different.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It is.
So,
I'm agreeing with you. That
all right. Here we go.
There.
So it's time to talk about this. This is
it's
the big
kind
thing
of
that everybody
different.
talks about. The big debate on why fucking rune priests are different from normal psychers, and the biggest way I can the easiest way I can describe it is they had something from the burning of Prospero where they had a 1,000-sun psyker that told a rune priest, what makes me so different from you? And the rune priest tells him, the difference between me and you is I can control it, is because I have self-control. There's a difference between walking in water and dipping your toes in and going for a swim.
Fair enough. Because they both are drawing from the warp. Doesn't matter how you look at it. They're both drawing from the warp.
Well,
However,
I mean, I'll never debate that. They do draw from the warp.
yes. However,
that's how psychers work.
Their psychic powers, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, is filtered through the earth, I guess, through Fenris. We'll just say that, or wherever
the
they're
easiest the way I've described it, because they found out it's not just Fenris. They're more like druids. They draw their power from the natural forces around them.
They're drawing it from the warp, but it's going through like an osmosis filter and that's how they're using it.
Almost,
Whereas the fucking
Whereas
Thousand
they're
Sons are drinking straight from the hose that's been sitting outside on a hot day.
Yeah, whereas we're sitting like knee deep in a fucking creek fly fishing, you guys are fucking like jet skiing underwater
The
for
fuck
whatever
you mean,
reason.
you guys?
Yeah, what do you mean you all?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
you
you
people.
people.
I am Corn Berserker, not Zinch Berserker, not fucking Zangor. Like,
You're either
No.
with us or against us. We don't. Sorry, I don't.
Fuck
Sorry,
Zinch.
I don't see chaos denominations. You're all the same
fuck
to me.
Zinch. No, but
You're
they're
fucking chaos space
they're the
marines are
same-
like the Chinese.
it's like the old saying, they're the same but different. They only draw enough to use whatever power they need, whereas the Thousand Sons, if left to their own machinations, will draw
Or
from
skipping,
the entire thing.
they're fucking digging a goddamn fucking excavator
Wolves-
bucket into the fucking water and splash it.
Space Wolves, the Space Wolves are using a sippy cup, whereas the Thousand Sons
are using a fucking 5-gallon water bottle.
are using a 5-gallon drum. Yeah.
But so just touching on that, that's the difference. So
Yeah.
so the Edict of Nicaea happens, and the Emperor says, you know what? Absolutely no psychers. I'm done. No more psychers. I'm the only psycher. Fuck you guys. I'm the only one that can do this. I'm the only one that can control this. Malkador, you know what?
I mean,
You
there
can
was a
do
few
this too.
exceptions, right? So like the actual psychers and like the navigator houses, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
if
That didn't change.
If you're not me, Malkador, or you're someone navigating a ship, you can't be a psycher.
Yeah, pretty much no psychers in like offensive military capacities.
I do agree with Magnus on the sense that a person who isn't trained on using the warp is a very greater risk than someone who is. But
I just want to say that
I think-
looking at the Thousand Sons now, they were probably, even though they were trained, they were their greatest risk.
I mean, I understand that's probably their greatest weakness is the fact that they had no self-control when it came to knowledge. They wanted to know everything.
Oh, I
every
can't wait
fucking
till we
thing.
talk
They
about
wanted
the
to learn
Thousand Sons.
everything.
Oh, man, that'll be
However, a case could be made. Look at the Space Marine like librarians. Look at all the librarians and stuff. They are trained to use the warp. I mean, sure, they're still susceptible to warp fuckery sometimes, whatever.
But that turns into, once again, we see it in jobs all the time. Fucking all it takes is one bad apple to ruin the entire bunch.
right. However, that one bad apple happened to be Magnus and his Legion, which is basically a bad orchard.
Yeah, that was a whole
with
yeah, that was just a
actual-
rotten ass fucking
Yeah,
orchard.
pretty much.
Yeah, with an actual training, psychers are a useful tool. Hell, the Alpha Legion used the shit out of some psychers.
Oh yeah,
what they
psychers are
needed.
100% useful. I would have been against the Council of Nicaea. I would have been like, oh, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Had they made it to where it was just the Thousand Sons were regulated in their psychic use, I think it would.
Well,
have
what
been
they-
okay.
that would have hurt even more.
pretty
for the
much,
Sons. That
well,
would have
pretty much
absolutely
that was
destroyed
kind of just a
them.
beat down on the fucking. That's why it's
Yeah.
the Edict of Nicaea is also known as the Trial of Magnus
Right.
the Red,
Mhm.
because
Well, I mean-
everybody else was like, you know what? Dad said no psychers, but what Dad doesn't know won't
Yeah.
hurt him.
Unless you're
Well,
Dorn.
it also doesn't help that the
Yeah,
Thousand
unless you're
Sons were
Dorn, and
also
then you're like, absolutely fucking not.
that came. Sorry.
It also doesn't help that the Thousand Sons were doing some sneaky shit around the back with fucking who was it? Amon.
Listen, it doesn't matter what the fuck the Emperor says. The Alpha Legion is not paying taxes. Like,
No, of course not.
They aren't doing
100%.
shit.
They're the ones collecting your taxes and funding the shit
And
under
you don't
the
even
guise
know
of the
it.
IRS.
Yeah.
But so we have the Edict of Nicaea that happens, and the Thousand Sons absolutely do not listen. They're like, fuck that. We're going to keep studying sorcery.
Yep.
And so, of course, it doesn't take long for the Emperor to get this word that they're fucking around and finding out.
Didn't they slow down? Like they didn't
Temporarily,
stop,
they did.
but
This-
they slowed down for a bit after the
they kind of
council.
it was kind of like the Jews hiding in the floorboard. They were they were kind of like we'll practice sorcery, but we just won't tell anybody we're
They
practicing.
changed it from a bonfire to like roast, like a little, playing around with a few embers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like they slowed
did
it
cut it
down,
out,
and
yeah.
it wasn't until Magnus started getting those visions or be
Yeah, that
told
they were
to-
like fucking everybody on the planet was just chanting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So So the Emperor gets word of this, / he gets a projection for Magnus, and Magnus fucks up a lot of things. We'll talk more.
Classic Magnus.
We'll talk more about this, but just to let you know, there's a reason why Magnus fucked up.
And yeah, he
And
even admits that
did
he
everything wrong.
did everything wrong, that he failed.
I will say it is sad, and I will say that I will agree with a lot of people where, they say that, Magnus had the best intentions, but the road to hell is paved with the best intentions.
Oh, and he fucking paved that street in gold, my son.
So the Emperor, of course, does what anybody does. He says, Russ, Magnus is fucking up. I need you to go get Magnus and take him, capture him, and bring him back to Terra for a timeout.
And to be fair, I mean, that was essentially supposed to be Night of the Wolf 2.0, right?
Yeah, that was essentially supposed to be, Magnus, you're fucking up. You're coming with me.
Yeah.
And what Groot said is just oversimplifying what actually happened. But when we get into the T-Sons episode, we'll let you know exactly why the burning of Prospero, I'm not going to say it was a act of self-defense, but it was worth it.
It was justified.
It was justified. It was so fucking justified.
It wasn't a burning, it was a police action.
Yeah, like this was a SWAT raid from the FBI, and it was
Boom,
justified.
FBI, Space Wolves, open up!
Yeah, it was completely justified.
So fucking Lehman Russ says, all right, Dad, I'm gonna go do this. Loads up the Space Wolves, loads up some Custodies, loads up some Sisters of Silence, because he's like, you know what, they got Psychers, we need some anti-Psycher, let's fucking bring the Sisters of Silence. You know what, fuck it, Valdor, you want to come on a ride? Let's go, Valdor. Let's, you know what, we're buddies, let's fucking
Buckle up, fuckaroo.
Valdor, let's go on a fucking adventure. I love to think of fucking.
Come on, Valdor, quick, 20 minutes, in and out. Come on, Valdor.
I love to
Valdor
think.
wasn't there.
Yes, he was.
No, it was Aquilon. No, Aquilon was on.
I thought Valdor
I
was.
gotta be
Shop of
honest,
the
I could be
Woodbird.
mistaken. Okay, he
no.
might have potentially been there. We don't know, but
I can't.
I
I'm-
don't think Valdor was there because it was like 10 Custodies and like another.
All I know
there
is
was more custodians than 10.
All I know is that I like to think of.
There were also Sisters of Silence there too.
All I know is I like to think of Lehman Russ and Constantine Valdor as like
'Cause
the closest of bros.
Around this time, Valdor was gathering up all the Clade assassins, wasn't he? And he was looking up for all of them.
Valdor was there.
He was there.
Yeah, he was there.
Okay, so then I'm thinking before this.
I
all
like to
happened.
think of. That's
Yeah.
why I said I like to think of fucking Lehman Russ and Constantine Valdor as just the closest of bros.
I mean, they really
Okay.
are, not gonna lie.
So I was wrong on that. Yeah.
I'll buy the drinks, you get the snacks. We'll get there.
So you want to get to the plot twist?
So so plot twist. Horus, who has now fallen to chaos and is now making all of his, sneaky little plans, sends a note to Russ and says, Russ, I've received word from Dad that you're on the way to Prospero to go acquire Magnus and bring him back. Well, the Emperor changed his mind and says you should now kill Magnus and burn all of Prospero to the ground.
Are you sure, Horus? I don't think Dad would want that.
Yeah, absolutely. He said you could.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you're like really sure, right?
Fuck
you
it,
can
we
trust me.
ball.
Cowabunga it is.
I'm your bro. Yeah, of course you could trust. Why would I lie to you?
I'm literally the War Master. What the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
What, you think I felt a chaos or something and now I
Yeah.
have evil plans and probably massacred half of your brothers in another planet? Oh, hell no.
So we'll fast forward a little bit to the beautiful town of Tisca. It's a beautiful city on Prospero. It's thriving. It's a beautiful town, all, pretty marble and everything. You're having a normal day going to the shop, and all of a sudden, fucking giant orbital bombardment out of fucking nowhere.
Bow, 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 bow.
Then after the orbital bombardment, all
Now,
of a sudden,
to be fair, there was heads up. Like the civilians, for the most part, did get out.
Yeah, for the most part, because they were pretty much
Yeah.
like, hey, the Space Wolves are here. Why are the Space Wolves here? We don't know, but that can't be
Just-
good.
Yeah. and
Oh
then-
shit, they're targeting us. What do we do? Fucking put up thought bubbles everywhere around this business city and get the
Literally
people
like
out.
speech bubbles, a cartoon. It's just like around Jessica. Yeah.
So the orbital bombardment starts along with the evacuation of Prospero.
Get the fuck out.
So after the orbital bombardment, after they've already fucking, started blowing up half of the city, then comes the drop assault, which is, notoriously a fucking Space Wolf thing. They're known for shock assault, shock, hit hard, hit them fast, take them out before.
Well, hit hard and sustain savagery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep hitting them and don't let them stop. Don't give them a chance to recover.
Yeah.
And so that happens, and they completely start. They land and they start razing Prospero to the fucking ground.
Yep.
They take no prisoners. Fucking leave nothing standing. They burn all the libraries. They crumble the statues. They leave this place eradicated.
Shout out to my boy Kaon. We'll learn more about him in the T-Sons episode.
This whole time, the whole time this is going on, Magnus is inside of his tower having a fucking existential crisis because he finally realizes I fucked up.
He fucked up big time. He's like, no, we're gonna accept our punishment.
Yeah, and he pretty much goes into an emo, oh, well, I guess we're just going to bend over and take it. And out of nowhere, fucking Lehman Russ fucking just kicks in the doors. Magnus, I'm here.
No, Armin and all them started fucking, they're like, you know what? Fuck you, Dad. We're going to defend this goddamn city with or without you.
Yeah.
They started defending the fucking city. And then
that didn't work out too great.
It was working out pretty well. I mean, they realized that if they killed off the Sisters of Silence, they can use their psychic powers. So that's what they started. They just, one dude, I forget who it was, started picking off sisters left and right. And every spot that they picked off a sister opened up a bubble. Now his brothers can start using all their psychic powers. And I mean, they're fucking blood boils and everything.
The funniest thing is that at the end of the day, no matter whether it's like loyalist, traitor, or anything else, the biggest just cocksucker in this entire situation was Zinch in the entire thing. Not just meta, but also during the battle, just to like make sure the T-Sons were losing. Would go around like randomly like, ooh, flesh change. There's like rampant flesh change.
That is true.
Yeah,
because he was just like, oop, oop, oop.
And then Magnus finally, he was like, fuck, all my kids are out there getting fucked up. I should do, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck this shit. I'm gonna do something about it. That's when he goes out there, and then that's when
the door gets fucking kicked in. Magnus, I'm home.
Anyways, but Prospero happens, and long story short, that's whenever he doesn't he falls to chaos, but he doesn't join the traitors till a little bit later, and we go from there.
And Lehman Russ breaks his back.
And that too.
Yeah.
He got better though.
Lehman just straight up freaking baned this motherfucker's Batman.
You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, raised by it. I didn't see a bolter till I was already a man.
I cast extraordinary violence.
Magnus, I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body.
Anyways, we're spending too much time on murdering Prospero.
Okay, so Prospero happens. Not a whole lot really happens with the Space Wolves after the burning of Prospero. A little thing that does happen is Malkador essentially decides that the ultimate way for them to defeat Horus is to send Lehman Russ straight into the fucking vulture's nest and straight at Horus himself. They have a plan that they do where they send in a bunch of the Knight Errants, and the Knight Errants basically carve a path to Horus so that Lehman Russ can, sniff out his fucking way, wolf signals and blah, 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 blah. And Lehman Russ actually fights Horus. He wounds Horus, gives Horus a little bit of a kind of a moment where he realizes for a second that I've noticed that anytime Lehman Russ fucking fights somebody that's a Primarch that has fallen to chaos, they have a real quick realization for a minute that they fucked up.
Yeah, because when you see Russ in front of you, that's sort of the situation where like it's like
shit,
you
this
feel
is
like
what
what
I've
you're doing is
fallen
okay,
to.
but then you see like a cop pull you over behind you, you're like, oh yeah, I should have been speeding, shouldn't have I? Shit, that entire type of situation. But yeah, no, there was the Legion itself actually had like Space Wolves all over. So obviously after that happens, Russ sort of goes, and it's what I like to call the Happy Squad, like with the Dark Angels, Gilliman, everything else. So whenever the Terra basically gets blocked up by warp storms, everything else, him and those other legions are like in the backfield, kind of like chopping up planets, traitor reservoirs, stuff like that, destroying their home worlds, all fun stuff like that. Now, granted, even on Terra, there's actually decent bit of few Space Wolves on Terra, because even whenever
I don't know. He was looking at me like that.
I don't know. I was
Looking at me.
look. It was like a little.
You coughed and then stared at me, and I'm like, what?
Oh, okay. So
Anyways, but that being said, Russ actually returned to Terra, and he's very similar to like the Khan. Whenever Dorn sent out the call for, "Hey, everybody, get your fucking ass back here," he came back to Terra, and he was like, "Oh, that happened. That wasn't that good. I don't think we should have done that, buddy. But I did it really well though." And at that point, Dorn said, "Great, now stay here and man the walls." And Russ like, "Fuck you." And that's, of course, after that's whenever
Russ
the
pretty
entire
much says,
happens.
"Fuck you, I'm gonna go play chess with Malkador."
Pretty much, and then fucks off. But a few Space Wolves are left. So during the Siege of Terra, obviously the main loyalists are going to be like Blood Angels, White Scars, Imperial Fist. But there was a smattering from like every other legion there.
Right.
You had Salamanders, Raven Guard, Space Wolves in a higher concentration, but they weren't there in any like substantial amount.
Right.
Yeah. But that was one of the cool things you can go in and see is also there is a little bit of like representation for the legions at Terra, even if the legion itself wasn't there.
Right. Even if it's just a little bit of something, because a lot of legions weren't there.
Yep.
In their, at least in their full strength. That I feel like if they were, that would have definitely changed the tide of the battle.
Oh, by a wide margin, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so after that, not a lot happens with the space. Well, I mean, other than the Space Wolves showing up in the Siege of Terra, just a little bit of everybody being there. Nothing really happens in the Horus Heresy / the Siege of Terra with the Space Wolves.
Honestly, that's kind of like the skinny of it. Obviously, we can spend forever going into like super,
We
super
can spend
details, but
forever
that's-
talking about Space
Fast
Wolves.
forward 10,000 years. What
Well,
are they
no,
doing
no,
now?
Well,
we
not
haven't
really.
gone that far yet. We ain't gone that far.
So after the Siege of Terra and everything, Gilliman comes up with an idea called the Codex Astartes.
Boo.
In which case he says that no legion should have the amount of power that, basically Horus had. And it's basically just a contingency to kind of break up the legion so that we don't have another heresy. Space Wolves. So what did they say? They said they were going to break into chapters of 1,000 legionnaires.
Yeah,
Yeah, correct.
they never fully agreed or accepted the Codex Astartes. The only thing they agreed with was the successor chapters.
Who, the Space Wolves?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it depends, because there's half of the Space Wolves that said, "Fuck the Codex Astartes, we're not following that."
For the most part, they all did. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
here's-
and then you have, and they became still known as, they're still the Space Wolves, and then you have the ones that followed the Codex Astartes, and they're now known as the Wolf Brotherhood.
They're dead though.
Are
Yeah,
they?
Yeah. That whole
Rampant
legion was
mutation, they
combined of all the ones that had the instability of their
Oh
fucking
yeah, they
gene
had the
seed.
fucked up gene. They had
Yeah.
the fucked up genes, and all the fucking Space Wolves were like, "See, we told you."
Now this kind of leads further on to 40k, and we're not going to go all the way there yet because we have a couple things to touch on before we go full 40k. But that being said, obviously Space Wolves were like, "Oh, the Codex Astartes, that's really fucking stupid.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit."
Yeah.
And during that time, the Codex Astartes, anything else, and also with the like Council Nicaea, anything Imperial, there's always going to be a few people out there, namely the Space Wolves, in 100% of situations where they say like, we're the good guys, so we're not going to worry too much about following the rules. And for the most part, although it is a very well-known fact that Space Wolves are way over the capacity for what a chapter is supposed to be, and they're not even trying to play like legal loopholes like Black Templars. They're just like, yeah, what'd you going to fucking do about it, bud? Most like Imperials will leave them the fuck alone because they know, hey, these are the fucking Space Wolves. Okay, when we talk about the shit, they're one of the shit. They're one
Those
of the
guys
nine
are
loyalists.
almost as unstable as Angron and his legion.
But
Just leave them the fuck alone.
But on top of that, the Space Wolves are also one of the few Space Wolves, and mainly Lehman Russ is also one of the few like legionnaires / legions that there's a little to zero chance of them ever turning.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
Space Wolves are loyal to the core to the Emperor.
Yeah, in the second edition, now granted this is coming from like a rule book, but in the Horus Heresy game second edition, there's only 3 loyalist chapters that I consider to be infallible. Okay, everybody else could be corrupted, and the answer for all this may surprise you. One of them, obviously, Space Wolves. Second, Salamanders. Third, Imperial Fists.
Yes.
Those are the only 3 legions they said these motherfuckers, like mainly these Primarchs, never gonna turn. Not a chance in fucking hell.
No.
And we'll delve more into the other 2 later. But
Damn, they didn't give the Raven Guard that kind of a
because it
benefit?
wasn't
Damn.
the case of loyalist or traitor, or they thought they would go traitor, so they didn't get like the high ranking, if so to say. It's more in the
Corvus
case of
leads by
they
emotion.
would never, in any situation, any circumstance, they would never turn at all.
Corvus is very emotional.
Yeah,
I
true.
guess.
Especially
that.
especially when it comes to his Horus and Sanguinius are 2 that are very emotional when it comes to his sons, especially if
Well,
something bad happens.
Sanguinius could never turn.
The problem is that he was
It's
also
kinda hard
he was
for
battling.
dead men do no turns.
Yeah, exactly. But on top of that, the Blood Angels were suffering from like the Red Thirst, right?
Yeah.
And that was the big thing. And it was attempting to be corrupted to the point where a lot of Chaos guys were trying to turn the Blood Angels because that would have been huge victory for Chaos.
God, can you imagine freaking Blood Angels?
Yeah, you lose your spot as like #1 corn boys. What's going on?
But
I
I,
mean,
love,
dude.
but I love how you mentioned that a lot of times like even though the Space Wolves don't follow the rules, that people tend to not fuck with them. That hasn't been the case because
Not
a
always.
lot of times they, even though they're the Space Wolves, and even though you're not supposed to fuck
It's
with
the
them,
exception to prove the rule.
it's almost like some people still are like, oh, I don't care if you're fucking Space Wolves, you're gonna listen to me, and yeah, the Inquisition mainly. And
The Inquisition don't give a fuck, though.
Yeah.
but the Inquisition found out really quick why you don't fuck with Space Wolves,
mean,
and they
fair
found
enough.
out that by having a fucking chapter master fucking full on sprint at them, sprint in Terminator armor,
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
fucking
Because the
Space Wolves,
Inquisition, the Inquisition are a bunch of cockbags. They're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, we're gonna commandeer your ship in the name of the Inquisition. I mean, they've done it to Grey Knights a couple times. Grey Knights like, fuck you. We'll
Inquisition
do it,
literally
but fuck you.
Inquisition literally said we're gonna blow up a planet, and Space Wolves said no, you're not. And they said, all right, well, watch us. And the Space Wolves said, okay, and then proceeded to bitch smack the shit out of the Inquisition and was like, no, you're not blowing up
there's
this
been
fucking planet.
several times. Now, well, let's go and like tidy up like 30K real quick.
Yeah.
So obviously, like Lehman Russ ended up disappearing, right? He's not currently in 40K. That may change soon, but currently not there.
Yeah,
Yes.
something about a tree in the warp to go pee on or
So-
claim it's his
Yeah.
or something.
Russ
I don't know.
disappears. Russ basically, I wish let's pull up the speech for
Somebody threw his tennis ball into the warp and he's trying to find it now.
Here, while you're looking that up,
I'll pull up Russ's
first.
speech for the for when he leaves.
So that being said, for basically, like, what was it? Like another like 200 years, 100, 200 years after the Horse Heresy, he does what he does best. He goes around, slaughters traitors, does regular Imperium duties, cleans up
Yeah.
in the bathroom, all that fun stuff, pees on a few trees.
He do things.
And that
Yeah,
being said,
yeah,
eventually-
of course he does.
There was a time where suddenly he was in the middle of like feasting, right? It was the day of the Emperor's Ascension, and all the Space Wolves were being good old boys and eating and drinking, all the fun stuff. And at that point, he just like goes stone dead in the middle of like this joyous occasion. He just stone dead, stared straight forward. And it's almost like he was receiving a vision, okay? But suddenly he gets up, he falls to his knees. Everybody panics and freaks the fuck out, like what's going on? And he gets up and he immediately summons all of his, what was the bodyguard guys called for Russ?
Wolfguard.
Wolfguard. He calls all of his Wolfguard to him. And this says, adios, boys. Daddy's out to get some milk. And then he fucking jets.
Yeah, so here's what it is.
Except for Bjorn.
What it is they come during during the day of Ascension.
Yeah.
It's during one of the big feasts that they hold during the day of the Emperor's Ascension, the day the Emperor was slain by Horus. As he's sitting around the hall, he makes this speech. He says to all of his fucking Space Wolves, he says, "We come here to celebrate the Allfather. We come to remember his sacrifice and his ascension from the world of the senses and his victory over my brother the traitor. We remember the dead who even now gather in the Oververse, their blade sharp, their aim clean. They are better than we are, for they perished in the war to end all wars, and their souls have been purified. And what of us? Those who remain wallowing in the dregs, the fallen gods have left us. We have grown fat. We have the beast within us, but it has never yet been mastered. So let us celebrate my father's ascension. Let us remember what he has been able to accomplish. Let us remember what he built and what he foresaw. Then how he lost and how he failed. Do not mourn the fact he no longer walks among us, for the galaxy was too small to accommodate such souls. He was of an age of gods, and we are slumped in an age of mortals. The light of stars will fade, this place will grow old, and the ice will crack it. We will forget no matter how much the Scalds tell the old tales, what battles are left for us like the ones before. My fallen brothers are gone, Malkador is gone, the leeches cluster around the golden throne and whisper of deeds done before they were born as if it were they who'd achieved them. No doubt of all this, one thing remains true. We were not on Terra. We were not there when the palace fell, and that shame will pursue us for eternity. It remains unfinished. I have waited too long building this mountain, squabbling with Gilliman. I will not grow old, feeble, limping around a crumbling inheritance. I have an oath to keep. There are beasts left to slay. Listen but closely, brothers. There shall come a time far from now when the chapter itself is dying, and our foes shall gather to destroy us. Then, my sons, I shall listen for your call. In whatever realm of death holds me, and come I shall, no matter what the laws of life and death forbid. At the end I will be there, for the final battle, for the wolf time.
Bro literally said, I don't give a fuck if I'm dead. I'm just built different. I'll be back.
Yeah. That's basically what happened. Apparently Magnus knows where Russ is, but he's not telling anybody.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah. Because, freaking, apparently Bjorn the Fellhanded, who's the dreadnought of the Space Wolves, tells the story of
Bjorn.
tells the story of Russ every 1,000 years of just him
Yep,
getting up and be like, hey guys.
Every day he wakes, every 1,000 years he wakes up and tells the story of how, every day it's, I walked with, I fought with Russ, walked beside him, told stories with him. He tells the story of him and Russ together, and how I think it's cool that he's like one of the only Horus Heresy era characters that's still fucking around, even though he's in a dreadnought.
So you want to tell them about what the Great Hunt is?
Ooh. Okay,
so the Great Hunt.
Yes.
If you want to take this step, bro.
I'll take it.
Step, bro, go for it.
Okay, I love it. So the Great Hunt is supposedly every once in a while, whenever the Space Wolf series basically they can receive what they believe to be calls from Russ, detailing different targets and different things to go and do. And these Great Hunts are rallied, and they eventually go off in the search for Russ.
Yeah.
And that being said,
yeah.
And so far they found like his armor, I think a few other things.
Yeah, they found like pieces. They found like artifacts of Russ. I think they found. I think they found Russ's armor. I think they found like his sword or something, or his axe.
Yeah, and during this time they slay a lot of great beasts. They do a lot of epic sagas and tales, and their deeds right the skies and what they do. But that being said, I want to say like we were on the 13th Great Hunt, was it? It was either 13th was either like the last one they did, or was close to it, or something like that. But they've done a lot.
30th.
Oh, fucking never mind. Okay, they got a lot more done.
The 30th Great Hunt.
Yeah.
But speaking about his his big speech and everything, and talking about that, we're in the wolf time as we speak currently.
Yes, as it has been like written and prophesied, everything else, all the requirements, the checklists are filled off whenever it comes to it being the wolf time. Now, this idea of a wolf time is not unique to the Space Wolves, okay? Now, they don't call it the wolf time, but they do call it like Armageddon, Doomsday, the end of the universe, the wolf time.
The end times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, here's something especially important, okay? And we're going to like divert our attention a little bit away from the Space Wolves into, believe it or not, the Black Legion, okay? Now, the reason for this is that in the actual book series, the Black Legion is supposed to be a trilogy, currently there's 2 books. I think they gave up on the 3rd one. There's one character, and the book is told from the guy I mentioned earlier, is called Kaon, who's a Thousand Sun sorcerer, is one of like the founding members of the Black Legion. And he's being interrogated by the Inquisition in the holding cells on Terra. And the entire reason he's saying is that he went and said, I'm here to tell you is that it is now the end of the world. Armageddon is now upon us. This is the 13th Black Crusade, and the universe shall end. We are done. This is the time. There is no minute before midnight. We are at midnight. And the funny thing is, whenever he says that, and he's talking about what's going on, it also keeps track real time of what the fuck's happening. And at the end of it, is assumed that that's whenever the Cicatrix Maledictum opens, like clockwork, and everything happens. And you might think, because these books came out like a little bit ago, okay, they're not super recent.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking, oh, well, GW was doing that because they had a different narrative theme for 7th and before, and now with 8th onwards edition, it's like a different idea. However, in the Watchers of the Throne book, they actually reference Kaon, and they say it's now the time that he's been talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it all makes sense now what the fuck's going on. So that being said, it is time for Russ to return. Probably very soon, maybe sooner than we expect.
God, I fucking hope so. I'm so tired of Space Wolves being shit compared to what the greatness that they used to be.
Yeah. But we
it
go
all
on.
falls on GW.
And they are involved in, obviously, the next 10,000 years, they continue on a lot of campaigns, keeping the Imperium safe, everything else. And they do a lot of different things. A few notable ones, whenever basically after the War for Armageddon, they were fighting over there, mainly fighting like a lot of the orcs, and then obviously chaos happens. But the next thing you know is that suddenly the Inquisition is trying to kill all the survivors from Armageddon, okay? Because that's whenever basically chaos erupted, a whole bunch of bad shit happened. Long story short, that's what happened. And the Inquisition is saying, hey, they've been exposed to the warp and chaos, we can't let them live. The Space Wolves, who just fought and died alongside these mortals, went ahead and said, the fuck you ain't, bitch. And they basically an entire squabble happened to where they ended up basically pissing off the Inquisition until eventually sort of like settling on a compromise where I believe it was a like internment camp for the civilians. So they weren't executed, but it was like, you're just going to move over here and I'm going to let you die out.
I know that was the point where an Inquisition agent experienced getting fucking charged by a fucking sprinting Logan Grimnar, which, if you guys don't know, a man sprinting in Terminator armor is a terrifying sight.
Yep.
You're talking about basically a sprinting tank.
Yeah, a man sprinting at you that big is already a terrifying sight. Even whether if he's like unarmored or wearing regular Space Marine armor.
Now double his already large size in Terminator armor.
Actually, I hear Smart User 4000 in the comment section saying, actually, step bro, didn't you know Terminator armor is not equipped to go and sprint? You actually can't sprint. Yeah, motherfucker, but when you stumble forward fast enough in your fucking Astartes, you become a fucking freight train going 22,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it can sprint. It's not designed to sprint, but you can sprint and pick up speed, and you fuck everything. You're not gonna be able to turn,
especially if you're leaping and
they
bounding.
They even mentioned it in Horse Heresy a couple of times, where somebody in Cataphracti Terminator just starts lumbering forward and all of a sudden just picks up speed.
It's the literal Juggernaut from X-Men.
Quite literally.
But yeah, so that goes back to the entire idea of, hey, you know, we're the Space Wolves. We can do what the fuck you want. What are you going to do? Get rid of a first founding chapter? No, the fuck you aren't.
Don't fuck with us.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a lot, so many funny, like, little incursions like that. What were you talking about? The Night of the Hellblasters?
Oh my God. Yes. So, brief thing. The Space Wolves were very skeptical of the Primaris Marines when they came as reinforcements. But that being said, they quickly picked up on them, and peace has been made. They're cool. And in this entire long list, in one of the more recent books, when they're actually using Primaris units, is Space Wolves have a tendency to record and put names on stuff, on really important stuff that happens, okay? Really big things of significance, you know? The battle for the Siege of Terra, the long nights.
Deeds worthy of a saga.
Yes, deeds worthy of a saga, Knights of the Wolf, you know? And then one of the most recent things that happens is called Night of the Hellblasters, and it's whenever the Space Wolves attack a really, really dark, like, Iron Warrior stronghold. And during that time, they go on ahead, and the only significance.
You're playing footsies with me, so I was just trying to give you kissy. I was just trying to give you kissy faces if we're gonna play footsies across the table.
I was trying to stretch my leg out, and I thought I was hitting the bottom of the desk. That was your foot. Never mind.
But the entire
I was sitting here bouncing my foot, and I keep hitting your foot.
Yeah, sorry.
Stop flirting, damn it.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah. But that being said, the entire Night of the Hellblasters was because the surface of the planet was so dark, like basically permanent night, is that all these repulsor tanks were full to the brim with Hellblasters, and apparently the Hellblasters used so much fucking plasma that they decided to go on ahead and honor that entire battle as Night of the Hellblasters. So apparently they turned Iron Warriors Fortress into like an EDM rave. Yeah. And they just, it's wild to me.
There's just something beautiful about that.
There is. Imagine using so much plasma that it goes down along with fucking Night of the Wolf. Like, what the fuck?
We had to show anger on something. Now it's time to show Perturabo.
I like to think that Space Wolves just don't care for plasma. And there's like the one guy who finally lets it off like accidentally in like a feast hall, and they're like, "That's cool as fuck. Why have we never done this before?"
Oh shit! Why didn't they ever give us plasma? And then it's just fucking all they have is repulsors full of full of Hellblasters, and they're just overcharging.
New in packaging, yeah. And like, guys, I got an idea, and they just fucking like go White Scar speed with fucking hell blasters out the fucking side window.
Drive-by shooting with plasma guns.
Yeah.
But other than that, the last really big one was the Siege of Fenris.
Oh yes, yeah, that's the big one.
And wasn't that essentially the Thousand Sons were pretty pissed off about the whole burning of Prospero, and so they were like, two can play this game.
Well, yeah, actually, so long story short, the Wolfen started returning. Okay, all these lost companies from the Horus Heresy era sort of turned up, and they've been converted into like these weird monsters to a degree, like the Wolfen. You can look up an image. I'll probably put it on screen.
For those that don't know, this is their genetic flaw with the Canis Helix. When you take it in, you either become a space wolf where you take on the features, long fangs, the amber eyes, stuff like that. But if you fall to the Wolfen, you basically become a werewolf.
Yeah, hence no wolves on Fenris.
Yes.
Because there are no natural wolves, only failed aspirants. Now, that being said, going on from that, obviously, then this happens before Primaris. Okay, this is right before 7th edition to 8th edition. But the Changeling basically starts fucking shit up, and long story short, tries to convince the Dark Angels to exterminate the Space Wolves because they found the Wolfen, and they're like, oh, these guys are cool, let's bring them back to Fenris. Yes. Hinga-dinga-duggin. And
Hinga-dinga-durg.
Dark
Oh
Angels.
shit! Look, guys, a new weapon.
Oh boy, he's really sharp. He's like, one Space Wolf lifts up his arm, he's got a fucking Wolfen like biting on it. He's like, guys, can we keep him?
Why does he look kind of like my cousin Brad that they said left for the farm like 3 weeks ago?
But they bring him back. Dark Angels, the entire 2,000 years have been looking like super like side-eyed at the Space Wolves. So whenever this happened, the Dark Angels were the first one to find out. Because they're like, we knew you fuckers was up to something, But that being said, they send some guys to investigate. Wolfen kills some of the Dark Angels. No survivors. So long story short, Tzeentch kind of comes in, and while he's invading Fenris, he's also on the bridge of basically the Dark Angel, the Rock. The Dark Angels like flagship, bastardized world type shit. And goes around and it's like, hey guys. Yes, I agree. We should kill the Space Wolves because they're like mutants and they're really cringe, yo. Come on, yo. Let's do it. Cool Imperium guys. Long story short, a Grey Knight guy shows up, says, no, Wolfen are cool. Hey, you're actually Tzeentch. They try to kill him. But during that time, something called like the Silver Towers, which are actual spires from Prospero, are used as basically landing devices, and usually just one of these is like the end time for a civilization. Fenris gets 9, and during that time they land on Fenris in what's called like the symbol of vengeance. Okay, and using the symbol of vengeance, they summon Magnus the Red to Fenris.
Isn't this where Logan Grimnar bitch slaps Magnus
Yes,
too?
he does. So that being said,
Damn.
fucking Magnus shows up. And the Thousand Sons are attacking, shit's all fucked up, everything else. The Dark Angels are also showed up. Like, oh, we decided you guys were cool. They instantly died, by the way. But going on to the Space Wolves.
Spoiler alert.
Fucking
Yeah, spoiler
nerd.
alert. They go around, and Ragnar Blackmane comes up, basically, after, obviously Magnus kills the last Space Wolves. Ragnar comes up, fucking claws open Magnus's chest, and then the surrounding Grey Knights basically banish him back to the warp, thus ending the Siege of Fenris.
Fucking Ragnar. Was it Ragnar?
I want to say it was the Ragnar Blackmania.
Sounds like not bad for a fucking Grey Hunter. Not even no fucking Terminator armor, no fucking change up, just nothing but pure fucking gas.
Yeah. Now, that being said, the best part about this, that happens, and that'll be enough for a chapter to recall and be like, man, we took heavy losses. Oh no, we got to like spend the next 300 years recouping our losses. Well, first of all, they probably had enough people because they're over the 1,000 person limit.
Space Wolves were like,
And then they said, hey, fuck it, I hear this thing called the 13th Black Crusade heading towards Cadia. Let's go there, boys. And they show up, and they also help defend Cadia against Abaddon.
fight more demons? Fuck yeah!
Yeah.
And that's really like the most recent lore is Cadia. They were
Well, technically, it's not the Hellblasters. Excuse you, actually. But the most important piece of Wolf. Now, that being said, there is the Dawn of Fire series, okay, which has been going on. It's supposed to be the Indominus Crusade, as Gilliman is going back to retake parts of the Imperium from Chaos. One of the last books they came out with was all focused around Space Wolves. And during that time, one of the rune priests basically was around and says, hey guys, this entire saga that we have written out for the Wolf time is now complete. The only thing that's left to do, all the requirements are checked off, is to go on ahead and see Leman Russ return. And during that time, something happened. That main rune priest, I forget his name, Went up
Njal
to
Stormcaller.
Yeah, him, and then who's like the main chapter guy? Chapter master.
Logan Grimnar,
Yeah,
the chapter master.
I believe it was him. Yeah, they talk and they go and wake up Bjorn, and they talk about this with Bjorn, and we don't know what the fuck they said. So they came to a conclusion, something very concrete, something very real they can act upon, and now something's happening.
And in a start, I know it doesn't for a lot of viewers, especially newer people that don't understand like Astartes and everything. You don't just wake up dreadnoughts for any fucking reason
not
possible.
at all, no.
Like at most, fucking Bjorn was waking up every like 1,000 years or so to tell his tale of the fucking of
Russ
how he walked with Russ and all that. So he was pretty much there as like the amusement park greeter, pretty much the equivalent of every 1,000 year Walmart greeter to start off with.
This is not like a casual deal.
Yes.
Well, the only dreadnought that was active almost all the time was Rylanor, wasn't he?
Yeah, but even then, like, you had to assume that he sort of like shut off or went into like hibernation mode for a little bit, right?
Put him in fucking sleep
Yeah,
mode
he had
for
like
a
a little
bit.
window screensaver bouncing around. Yeah.
Because they almost have to, because they state in a lot of the books about how dreadnoughts really like they get fucking on edge being awake because they're not, you're dead technically, so you're not supposed to be awake.
Imagine you're awake, and whenever you're not in battle, you're just in your sarcophagus. You cannot see anything, you can't hear anything, you can't feel anything.
But for whatever reason, you constantly have memories of your past life / fucking you getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I can see it because you never, as a Space Marine, you don't ever really forget. So,
Yeah.
Like a lot of times what they have to do is they have to like basically memory wipe dreadnoughts so they don't remember them dying. They don't remember anything. Now they give it, as soon as you wake up in a dreadnought, they give you a new name, they give you a new identity, and they say, "Congratulations, dreadnought, work."
Hey, fun fact, little side. I know we're already going long, but little side tangent. You know the hell brute for CSMs.
This episode's over an hour.
Oh, I know it. I'll do a lot of it. It's all good.
2 hours right now.
Yeah, it's okay. More content, baby.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that being said, Hellbrutes are the dreadnoughts, but the part of the reason why in lore dreadnoughts are so fucking insane is because they don't go to sleep. They don't. When the dreadnought does not get 8 hours of sleep every 8 hours, then in that case they go fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're just in the dining hall, you're fucking eating or whatever, and this fucking dreadnought just starts rampaging through. It's like, what the hell happened to him?
Oh yeah, no.
It's nap time.
It's
He didn't
nap
get his
time
nap
for him.
time. It's like, oh fuck.
Little Timmy, grab your imperial teddy bear and go to bed now. Come on, we'll wake you up in 200 years.
And the space wolves slap wolfen in dreadnoughts.
Yes, they do.
And
Why the fuck not? Yeah.
Well, and their thing is too is like in the lore it even says like wolfen dreadnoughts are not woken up for any reason other than they literally put them on the battlefield and say, "Here you go get him."
That sounds like the Eversor assassins.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
like,
much.
Do not wake that motherfucker up unless you want something to die.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair.
But so that's pretty
Man.
much the end. Holy.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because this is about a 2-hour episode.
We can add
now.
another 2 hours.
I mean,
That's
I could
okay.
keep going if you really want to.
You probably could. However,
I mean, listen, and also for like the audience, for like the two people who made this far, I've seen the retention rates. But that being said, obviously, like we can't cover everything in detail, and we're not just going to be another YouTube channel that just recites the actual just Wikipedia word for word and like, hey, dude, there you go. In the 13th day, the 13th hour, yada yada.
No,
That being
I
said,
mean we get a lot of
yeah.
stuff off of off the wiki page. We get a lot of stuff off the Lexicanum just to give like a brief overview. But at the same time, we're gonna give our thoughts and our interpretations.
We are
on
talking
things.
about it. We're not just reading it off.
Yeah, we're not just reading it off.
and really,
we are.
outside of like Ultramarines, GW's kind of lacking in the department of lore
Well,
for.
no, I wouldn't even say that. No.
Well, I mean, in the 40K sense, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, now mainly for Space Wolves, the problem is that a lot of the stuff they're in is like they've been active on this engagement and they were instrumental in this engagement, but
Yeah.
it's like some backwards world and like it might have been a campaign book. Like two
Meanwhile,
editions ago.
Ultramarines
that's
were
what I'm-
right in the middle
yeah.
of the fucking shit with
yeah, they're
goddamn
everywhere.
And
Gilliman.
that's, but that's what I'm talking about is let fast forward, 40K, 40,000 years in the future type of thing. Like there's not really much notable thing, like not too many notable things happening with a lot of these guys, except for like, okay, we got into Indomitus, right?
Yeah.
And that is mainly Ultramarines,
Yeah.
right? What's after that? Freaking Not much. Hell, the newest book the Black Library released was Siege of Terra Part 3.
Yeah.
Well, End of the Death Part 3,
Well,
I should say.
there's two types of lore. Okay. And this is a good way of looking at it. Is you have basically what's I call like movement lore, then you have static lore. Movement lore is like Siege of Terra. It's like Indominus Crusade. It's technically like Dawn of Fire. And that's whenever it's something that actually progresses the overall narrative. Okay,
Right.
it's moving. Then you have that dramatically outnumbers like the moving lore is the static lore. And that's like Siege of Rocks, engagement number 1, engagement number 2, engagement number 3 to 24, right?
Right.
And that's whenever it's, hey, here's a battle over here. It was very cool. It involved these factions. These characters were involved. They might get a model. We might toss them in. But it doesn't advance the narrative. Now, when it comes to secondary lore, there's a lot of shit, especially for Space Wolves, but it's not the most important stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying that there isn't lore out there that happens at some point during, the M42.
Yeah.
But
moving and shaking lore.
right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the history from these legions or from the Astartes anyways. Now if we're going to be talking about Xenos or, demons or whatever, that's a different story. You can see it, but a lot of the lore and like history of these is all set in like during the Horus Heresy area. That's where you learn a hell of a lot more about a lot of these legions and stuff. So that's kind of where I'm getting at. Is like we touch a lot on the Horus Heresy and everything that happened, because those are a lot of the most notable things with each of these legion.
Yeah.
In M42, White Scars, for instance, there's really not much to go on in M42 with White Scars. Outside of maybe a few,
well, I'm not gonna lie.
things.
I was very curtly reminded by a buddy of mine who I actually asked to also talk about some Space Wolf stuff for this episode, so I know some stuff. He got pissed the fuck off.
Did he?
Because we missed a very, very big part of White Scars.
Really?
And that was actually with the Red Corsairs, and because they invaded Shagoris. Yeah.
Okay, so see, I mean, outside of that,
Yeah.
what other relevant thing has happened with the White Scars in M42? Besides a couple of notable battles here and there, maybe a couple of mentions.
Matt will probably tell you.
Oh hell yeah,
You know?
yeah. Honestly, that's why I jokingly call him like the advisor, because I mean he'll let you know. He'll let you know.
Yeah. It's probably better that we get with these.
Well, hopefully, Matt, we did a good job for this episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll give me a thumbs up.
Shout out to all of our followers and supporters, everybody who's like contributed. We really appreciate that,
Seriously.
and we can't wait to grow the fan base.
And
Listen,
also,
if you've
don't
made
forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to follow and
Yeah.
subscribe.
And if you made it this far into a 2-hour episode on the fucking Spearswilfs, congratulations, dude. I didn't think I was gonna make it 2 hours, but there was a lot to talk about, I guess, with these guys. And a lot
Did we
of
change your mind?
no.
Oh, well, we
No.
tried.
But if there
I
is,
don't get me wrong, I respect Russ for what he does stuff. I kind of like him. I don't really care for the Space Wolves too much, though.
I'll take it. It's better than what we had.
Yeah, that's fair. And I will say, if there's anything like you think we missed or something we should have covered, anything else, let us know in the comments, right?
Yeah,
fucking
by
hop
all
in those
means.
comments. Also,
Awesome.
don't forget to hop in the Discord and
Yeah, hop in the Discord. Make
Help
sure
out our
that,
lonely
that
man.
our single guy in there so far isn't so
Yeah.
lonely, please.
Yeah. Although his name is Peace was never an option, so don't expect any kind of friendliness.
Bro is ready for war. I love it. Yes.
Bro is ready for combat.
He hopped in the Discord now. He's being like put on like a little podium with a spotlight shining on him. He's like, hey, buddy.
Of course, he's like our first guy. We have to put him on
I
a
know. It's
podium.
got to be so awkward. I love it, though. I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
But all right, guys, that was the episode, and we'll see you probably in the next couple of weeks.
Ooh.
Yep, it's your turn
Yeah,
now.
baby.
Shit, it's Stepbro's
Oh.
turn.
You all don't even show up. I'll
Actually-
solo this bitch.
Actually, you get 2 turns in a row, don't you?
I do, yes.
You get-
Oh yeah, you get.
yes.
Oh
Fists
yeah, you
and
get
Night
Night
Lords
Lords
Take
too.
a back, grab some popcorn. I will do the
I
entire
will
episode.
join
got
you with the
this.
Night Lords.
Yes,
I
fuck
fucking
this.
love those bastards. to
Oh
death,
man,
like, for
I am
real.
going to sit back and watch you autism
Oh,
the
you
fuck
have no
out
idea.
on
Oh.
fucking Dorn.
Anyways, here's my like the in-depth psychological profile of Dorn and why he's the fucking best, because that contributes to it. And no, he's not the most vanilla faction. He's like the best. Anyways, okay. I'm saving it. I'm saving
I'd
it.
have to say Ultramarines vanilla, but you guys are like homemade vanilla. Okay.
Like French
There's a thin
vanilla.
line
Yeah,
between
yeah.
friendly ribbing and grievous dis-
yeah,
You
So-
guys are like French vanilla.
yeah. Where Ultramarines is like vanilla flavoring, you guys are like real vanilla. Like you taste better. Yeah. You're just better
Yes.
than the regular vanilla.
Okay,
there
keep on
is.
going. Keep on going.
So
It's all good.
that's really how to say.
Hey, this is the Space Wolves
I'm close to
episode.
I'm close to my 28 miles an hour. Keep on going.
Listen.
All right, guys, we'll see you
All right,
next time for the Imperial Fist episode.
Yes.
See ya.
Well, catch
See you
you guys
guys.
later.